Hi everyone, welcome to CPOD or CPOR, which runs in conjunction with the residential students. Now we started with our lectures this week, and this lecture is just an introduction. I already recorded the first formal lecture as well. This is just the introduction lecture to take you through the study guide and just to give you a bit of background on how we're going to approach this year. Seeing that this is a year module, so we're going to have a look at project administration. Now you will find much of the things that I'm going to discuss will be from the residential students perspective, but you will see that you will bring a lot from your work experience as well, and it's always very nice to speak to the students who is in the industry and currently working and having challenges on site and doing tender documents and so forth. So my goal with this module is really to just get the administration right that we use on site. So production operational management, we're going to look at it from a construction project manager and a construction manager's perspective. So we're going to switch in between the two. You will see the first lecture focuses on what is the difference between a construction manager and a construction project manager, and everything is explained there. So getting into some of the formalities, we're going to have two formal tests during the year and tasks, and we're going to write informal assessments throughout the year. So please have a look at the information that I've provided in the study guide, and just remember, for the informals, this is just a rough guideline and the dates are not set in stone. So I will still communicate beforehand each time, and we're going to look at the breakdown just now a little bit later on. So most of them will be on Blackboard, some of them will be mini tasks, etc, etc. So please start going through the material as we go along, because the informals will be based on the lectures as they are posted. So please make sure that you look at them. And with the first form orientation session, we're going to sit down and you'll be able to have some questions or post some questions that you've encountered so far and so forth. So yeah, just be mindful of that. Then looking at the study guide, I'm not going to go through all of the broad aims and so on. I think it's very self-explanatory. I'll highlight one or two as we go along. But the short and the long of it is, and you will probably have noticed this on your sites, is much of construction management or construction project management is communication. The client communicating what he wants, the architect interpreting what he wants and putting it onto paper, doing a design that fulfills that requirement, etc. So those are the things that we're going to look at. So yeah, project administration, I cannot emphasize enough. It's simple things like a delivery note for drawings, having a date on there, letting the site agent sign for it. I always use this example. This is something which happened to me, where we were building a swimming pool, and there was a reissue of the final level of the swimming pool, which differed quite a lot. It's about 500 millimeters that the difference in height brought about, and the cost implication of that on that small project was almost 10%, because of the earthworks and everything that had to be raised, and the implications thereof. Luckily we found the delivery note of the drawings, and it clearly stated that the site agent signed for it timeously before they actually started with those earthworks. So those are the things that it really makes a difference on a site. It's just that paperwork and getting those basic things right. Okay, so we're going to look at some specific outcomes, the construction management as a profession, what it is. We're going to look at methods of procurement, project and bid strategy, planning processes, techniques, supply chain, labor factors and affecting how it affects the mechanism and so forth. Programming procedures, sequencing, method statements, health and safety and cash flow projections. We're going to look at control principles and procedures of time, money and resources, trends in construction, waste management, lean construction, health and safety, etc. We're going to do that in the final unit, but it kind of ties everything together. Then the module structure, we've got 9 units. So we're going to look at introduction and to the construction industry, and then we're going to look at the construction management and construction project management. These first 2 units you will see will set the stage for the rest of the module. Although units 1 and 2 is not that important study-wise, it's going to be very important on whenever answering questions and so on. I'm always going to tie the questions, not always, but most of the time, I'm going to tie it or sketch a scenario that, for instance, you're in stage 3 of the project, and you have to explain to the client what the outcomes would be, what the construction project manager's role is towards that, and is the construction manager already involved in it or not. So very important to go through it, although actual testing on these units are not going to be as vigorous as the other units. So please go through that. And then unit 3, project procurement, we're going to start through that. You will see that the units are structured in such a way that it takes us through the project life cycle. Unit 4 is the project organization. Then we're going to look at resource management, managing the supply chain, project planning. Then we're going to look at project control, and then construction responsibility. And that's the 9 units. Then the specific learning outcomes. Also, I'm not going to go through this in so much detail. Everything is quite straightforward. You should be able to manage effective utilization of resources required. So we're going to do the planning for that. The student should be able to demonstrate insight into the following: categorize the organization, construction firm's organization, appraise between the different procurement methods, compile a master program. We're going to look at the different programs that you might encounter on a site as well, and produce method statements, formulate method statements. You will see I'm going to focus a lot on method statements, because everything is based on method statements. Even just doing your P's and G's, you can't do without a method statement. Evaluate a purchasing and control material plan, formulate projected cash flow, evaluate programming and dynamics of decision making, apply project control procedures, judge the trends in construction, especially towards sustainability, lean construction, health and safety. In the second semester, you've got a module, construction innovation, and this ties into that. Okay, so this is just a basic breakdown of the contact sessions. Now, with being on a blended mode of learning, our classes and workshops will actually increase. Where we used to have only like 8 hours of contact sessions, we will have more regular contact sessions via Blackboard, and I will post videos each week as we go through the work with the residential students. I'm going to post the videos on Blackboard so that you can have a look at it. So you will always be able to keep abreast of where we are currently with the curriculum. Okay, and then we've got our program. Please have a look at the program. The two dates that I could set so far is the 31st of May for task 1, and then 30 August for your task 2. Test 2 and test 1, I've could establish that early May would be a good time for your first test, and test 2 in early September. And obviously we'll have informals throughout the year. Okay, so you will see that your assignments 1 and 2 will contribute quite a bit to your final mark or your semester mark. So very important, please put effort into your assignments. You can already start with your assignments. We'll discuss it a little bit later on exactly what you have to do. But please have a look at that. You have to go to site, or at least if you're like in a client's position, or doing some other work, you need to be able to relate the project that you have identified for it as soon as possible, and spend time on that. So that I'll get into the specifics a little bit later on. And your test 1 will count 10%, test 2 will count 20%, and then your informals will count another 20%, which is quite a lot. So if you've worked during the semester, you can actually score a high mark for the subject. Also be mindful that the semester mark counts 60% and your exam counts 40%. So again, that is just to give you a incentive to work during the semester. Okay, then we get to the prescribed books. The Cook and William book is very important to get. All of the study material will be based, or all the work that we're going to do is based on this book. Even though it's an old book, it's a very practical book that you can use in practice as well. There's templates for requests for information, templates for method statements, and so forth, and very practical examples. So a very good book. That's why I've gotten quite a bit of flack why I keep on using this old book, but it just gives so much value. So please acquire the book, and make sure that you keep up to date. And then other books that I also prescribe, Cook and Williams, the 2014 one, Management of Construction Projects, very handy if you're looking for practical examples. And then just another one for reading work, which is not that important, is the Management of Construction, a bit of an American background. And you can have a look on the internet. I'm sure you should be able to find the book if you have do a search for it. Okay, then the units. I'm not going through the units. I'm going to just look at the broad overview of the units, but before we get there, you can have a look at the following video. Just use this link, copy and paste it into your browser, and it's just a bit of background on the construction industry and who the role players are, etc., etc. Then the units, you will see units 1 and 2 is highlighted here separate from the rest, because it's just the introduction of how the workflow would be. So unit 3 starts with procurement, and then it goes to your construction responsibility. It basically follows the different stages. So that's why I drew it like this, that you can see that it the information that you gather on the one project you use on your next project, etc., etc. The different stages will work the same, where stage 1 will be the output of stage 1 will be the input for stage 2, and it goes on like that. So the more information you build up, the nearer you get to the project's completion. So yeah, please go through this, familiarize yourself with the content of the units. You will see that in the lectures I will go through each unit's outline. Okay, so unit 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. And then this slide I just wanted to highlight to you. We're going to look at planned value, earned value, and actual value, but we're not going to do it in that much depth. In construction finance and project management, you actually do look at this, but we're going to touch on it on a very broad way. In a very broad way, just to assist you to get the bigger picture of exactly how it works and how it can be implemented. We're not going to go into the detail of it as such. So the main objective of this graph is to see how far ahead you are on schedule or and your expenditure. So you've got your actual value, your planned value, and your earned value, and from that, if you track your progress, you can easily calculate, will you be within budget later on in the project? What is your cost variance? Are you within your cost variance perimeters? And then if you your earned value and your planned value, if you draw a line here, you can actually see how far behind you are. And then you can see, okay, we're about a month and a week, basically 5 weeks behind on schedule. So we're just going to look at it so that you can do an easy calculation for your client whenever he wants you to calculate, are you ahead, behind, etc. Okay, and there's that your schedule variances that you can calculate from that, but we'll still get to this later on. Okay, and then we're going to look at the different role players, who they are and what they contribute to the project, etc. And yes, that's more or less it as an introduction to this module. If there's any questions, feel free to send them through to me. My contact details is there on the first slide, and also via Blackboard you would have seen what my contact details are. So please be active and ask your questions as we progress. Okay, and then just getting to the task, I'm just going to look at task 1 for now. But the main thing is you need to identify a project that you can work on. Preferably one that will run at least for 4 months. And you need to establish, for me, is there a professional team? You need to compile an organogram of the different parties. This includes the stakeholders, the client. Is there a community involved? Basically everything, how it influences the professional team that's working on the project. Then I want you to establish how procurement, labor, plant, materials, etc. is done. Is it done by one person if it's a small project, only the contractor, or is it a decentralized or centralized system where there's a procurement department that actually procures on behalf of the contractor? And then we've got question C, explain how communication is done by the construction manager to the different role players. Remember that drawings is also communication, emails is communication, site instructions is communication, the contract is also a form of communication, etc. Explain how health and safety is conducted on site. I'm going to look at whether you've identified that there is a health and safety file on site. Is the labor report submitted to the client? Is department labor informed about the construction? I want you to have a look at the health and safety file and actually give me feedback on exactly what's happening on site. Compile a site layout drawing indicating how the project is phased, indicating the site offices, storerooms, etc. I want you to explain to me what this project entails. You can take photos, you can do drawings, anything that you think necessary to explain the scope of the project and to explain your explanations can be inserted in the document. Task 2, I'll still focus on this, probably in the orientation session. For our module, I'll focus on this a little bit more. I'm just going to look at task 1 and 2 for now. Just note, I think I forgot to replace this date here. It's just 30 August 2021. 30 August, sorry, as per the study guide. So please just be mindful of that. And then, okay, this is just standard items for whenever submitting your tasks. We'll still get into that in the orientation session. Okay, and I think that's more or less it for the introduction. So please go through the study guide, familiarize yourself with it, and send me through any emails or notes or questions if you've got.